Right as we start the show, the news comes out that, Brendan Eccles won't be a New York Jet next season. He was an unrestricted free agent. The Jets let him hit the open market, and he lands a deal with the Pittsburgh Steelers. What does this mean for the Jets secondary? Plus, we'll break down the latest free agency rumors and news, all coming up here on a Wednesday edition of NY Flight Jets Talk with our guy, Matt O'Leary.
Jets, Jets, let's go.
Jets wide receiver Wesley Walker. Wesley, how you doing today? ESPN writer Mr. Rich Cimini, Jets reporter for The Athletic, Mr. Zach Rosenblatt, Hall of Famer and Jets legend Mr. Marty Lyons.
Your host, Connor Law.
What is going on, everyone? Hello and welcome back here into another edition of NY Flight Jets Talk on this Wednesday, March 12th, 2025. I appreciate you all tuning in. Make sure you smash the like button and you are subscribed to the channel. It's completely free, and it's a great way to help us grow here on the show. And I'm sure you guys saw it. I'm sure you guys are typing about it in the chat. Brendan Eccles is a Pittsburgh Steeler. No longer a New York Jet. It would have been great to retain Eccles, but Darren Muji was active on the first day of free agency, did nothing yesterday, and made one small signing of an edge rusher today. So haven't been impressed with Darren Muji, and now the Jets lose out on someone who could have been in play for the cornerback 2 job next year. So tough news for our New York Jets. But joining me right now to break everything down surrounding Jets to surrounding free agency, fellow New York Jets content creator guy Matt O'Leary joins the show. Matt, awful news right before we start the show. We were talking before. See the tweet come in from Jordan Schultz, now confirmed by multiple reporters. Brendan Eccles will not be returning to the Jets in 2025.
Yeah, that one's unfortunate. I like Brandon Eccles. I thought he was someone who could compete for a cornerback 2 spot. After they paid up a little bit of money for Brandon Stevenson, I think it's kind of, I think it was kind of a long shot for him to come back. But good depth. Pittsburgh gets a solid addition. Likely, I didn't see the money, but I can't imagine it's for too much.
Yeah, I think they're still confirming what the exact contract is going to look like. For Brendan Eccles still, it's not out yet, but that raises the next question. The Jets decide to go out and pay someone like Brandon Stevens, coming off a down year, former 3rd-round pick who hasn't been all that impressive. They pay him 3 years, a 3-year contract worth up to $36 million. Looking back, I would much rather have just paid Eccles 2 years, $8 million, 2 years, $10 million than trying to go out and catch lightning in a bottle with a guy in Brandon Stevens who struggled over the past few seasons.
Yeah, that's a fair criticism. The only thing that would make sense to me is if stylistically they just want bigger corners for this scheme. Eccles is a little smaller at 5'10", 179 pounds. The guy the Jets brought in is a more bigger profile and physical corner. He has his warts, and it's not, this isn't me saying that it's going to be a home run signing. I think he has, an uphill battle to bounce back in 2024, 2025 from his 2024 season with the New York Jets here. So it was an interesting swing, one that I don't think many people expected. So hopefully it works out for Darren Muji, Aaron Glenn, and the Jets.
The way the first day of free agency played out, Matt, I looked and I saw what the Jets did. Whether it's bringing in Justin Fields, you tender Tony Adams, obviously you sign Jamie, you extend Jamie Sherwood rather on Sunday night. You sign Andre Cisco. I was looking at what Darren Muji was doing. I'm like, this is the B+. Now the Jets go out, they do nothing today. They signed an edge rusher earlier today. Someone who's going to be competing for a roster spot. His name's Rashad Weaver. We'll get into him in a little while, but how would you grade Darren Muji now, pretty much 3 days into free agency?
It's so hard to say because I feel like it's incomplete. They still need to do significantly more. So I guess you just give it like an average grade, like a C right now. Again, that's subject to change. It could get better. It could get worse. If they don't do anything else, then that grade is going to get worse. If they continue to add more, it has a chance to rise. I do like the Justin Fields signing. I think, it's someone who is linked to the Jets for a long time. I think Andre Cisco is going to be an underrated addition for the Jets. Yeah. I think he's a bounce back candidate for them this year, especially at his age. But the Stevens one's a hard sell, and it was also tough to kind of see them now for the second day in a row having a quiet day. So we'll see. But he's taken a much more conservative approach.
Any names you still see out on the open market, Matt? Because all the top names were pretty much now in the second wave of free agency. If you really think about it, are there any names that stick out to you that are still on the market that you would be interested in the Jets going after?
I'd like to bring Tyler Conklin back. Honestly, I look at the tight end room. I think that's a big need for them. I know that they could enter, the NFL draft and take a tight end. Re-signing Conklin isn't stopping you from drafting a tight end. And for an external free agent, it's a name that's been brought up a million times, but I'll bring it up again. Tim Patrick, I think, is going to end up being a New York Jet. Bigger outside receiver who has connections with Muji with his time in Denver and Aaron Glenn with his time last year in Detroit. So that's a player to watch too.
Man, I want to get into the signing earlier today. Edge rusher Rashad Weaver, former third-round pick, was with the Titans for a few seasons, 27 years old, played with the Texans last year, only had 14 snaps, missed his only tackle attempt, which is pretty comical if you sign with the Jets now. All 5.5 of his career sacks came in 2022. 2022 was pretty much the only season he produced something. 5.5 sacks, 49 total tackles, 11 tackles for loss, and 15 quarterback hits. How do you view this signing for the Jets?
You said it best a minute ago here. He's going to compete for a roster spot. I think, looking at how the Jets were at the position, you have two starters in Jermaine Johnson and Will McDonald. You need depth behind those guys, especially with Jermaine coming back off the injury. So they might not be done at that position. That could be in the draft. It could be UDFA. But I think they needed to add somebody at the edge spot. He doesn't really do a ton for me. He didn't play much the last couple of years, but he did have one okay season a few years ago.
Once they made this signing, Matt, I checked in with a source for the Titans and a source for the Texans. The Titans source, where he was drafted, spent the larger half of his career. This is what the Titans source told me. Weaver is a rotational rusher who has bounced around in the past year. Nice guy in the locker room, good teammates by all accounts. Just needs the right coaching to unlock another gear for him to make a bigger impact. I mean, if he just needs the coaching to get into another gear, make an impact, I think he came to the right team in the New York Jets with Steve Wilks. You have Aaron Glenn, obviously Eric Washington. I think his name is the defensive line coach who was the Bears DC this past season. So a very experienced defensive staff. Rashad Weaver, I think, is someone who go into the season again expecting nothing. Maybe he shows you in training camp, earns a roster spot, but the Jets do need some sort of edge depth just because Will McDonald obviously coming off a great season, but Jermaine Johnson, you hope he's great, but you don't know coming off an Achilles injury like that. And after that, the Jets are still in the process of completely revamping their defensive line. So this may be a depth piece. I checked in. Person with the Texans told me just put no stock into it whatsoever. Pretty much a practice squad guy last year. Don't expect much out of him. So that's where a lot of people are on Rashad Wade. Bottom line is don't expect much. Kind of a low risk, low cost type move. I mean, it can't hurt, Matt, to take a 1-year flyer on a guy. What's the worst thing that could happen? You pay him a couple $1,000,000. He doesn't pan out. You move on. That's pretty much the worst case scenario when you take a flyer like this on a player. So I don't hate it by any means, but I still want to see some defensive linemen added in free agency and through the draft. Any names you see still on the open market, whether it's an edge guy, whether it's an interior guy. I got a sneaky name that nobody has been talking about that I'll share after you go.
Yeah, on the interior defensive line, I'm going to do the opposite route and talk about someone who we've all talked about for a while, and Levi Onwuzurike. Yeah. Another Detroit Lion, just seems to fit with what the Jets need. He's more of a pass rushing interior guy, so you'd probably have to go and find your run stuffer in the NFL draft, but you should be able to find players like that on day 2 or day 3. So that'd be my answer for another, addition on the defensive line in free agency.
The name I'm keeping my eye on, Matt, someone who had 9 sacks last year, has the connection to Aaron Glenn, has the connection to the overall coaching staff. Zadarius Smith, just released by the Lions. What's the most he's going to cost you on a 1-year deal? He's over 30 years old. I think he's someone to potentially look out for unless the Jets are really, really going the younger route, even if it's just for 1 season. That's what I'm looking for on the exterior. Another older guy, a veteran I'd keep my eye on. The interior, someone you could essentially poach from the division rival Miami Dolphins, Calais Campbell, over 35 years old, but coming off an incredible season with the Dolphins. Those are the 2 names I'm going to look out for. Appreciate you all tuning in. Smash the like, subscribe to the channel. It's completely free, helps us grow significantly. Any questions from Matt and I, throw them in the chat. We'll get to those. Call into the show. the pinned comment at the top of the chat. Our guy Jill comes in here extra early. He becomes a member. You are in our raffle, Jill. Thank you so much for all your support here on the program. We'll throw the raffle ticker on down below there for you guys. Our guy Jake Asman, Matt, comes in with a $2 super chat. Says,
Oh,
I smell the 4-win season, Connor. Get ready for it. Now, Matt, this is Jake was in the boat of wanting Aaron Rodgers back. So he didn't get his wish, and he put out a tweet the other day that I might have to go back and screenshot it just so I don't lose it, because it's probably going to be Jets Steelers on opening night. I could see that happening, man. If you think about it, especially if Rodgers goes to the Steelers, Monday Night Football, Thursday Night Football, Sunday, some sort of primetime game. He said he can't wait till Aaron Rodgers comes into MetLife Stadium, throws 3 touchdowns, and the Jets lose.
I think Will McDonald's going to beat Broderick Jones for 3 sacks in that game. That would be that would be my guess for that one. I get it. It's been underwhelming start to free agency, and if you're down on him, you're down on him right now. That's all.
For sure. Pat, even what happens this season, I'm not going to change my stance on Aaron Rodgers, because if he goes to the Steelers and he has a great season, so be. I feel like if he wins 9 games with the Steelers, fans are going to be going crazy. That's my worst case scenario, because I don't know how to tell fans not to get excited, not to get, not say, Aaron Rodgers should have come back. The Steelers make the playoffs every single season, Matt. They make it with Kenny Pickett as their quarterback. Duck Hodges could take them to the playoffs. They're just a well-coached football team. They go 9-8, 10-7 every single season, get into the playoffs, get bounced in the first round. That's who the Pittsburgh Steelers are. So I'm not changing my stance on Rodgers no matter how he performs this season, for better or worse.
Yeah, I think you probably nailed it. Would it shock you if, he was okay again in 2025 and they won 9 games and were a 7 seed? That sounds about on par for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't think it matters if it's Russell Wilson or Aaron Rodgers. It's like the meme where it's the hallway and you have the 2 guys on each side, but it's the same result at the end. I think this is kind of where we are if they brought back Russell Wilson or if they bring in Aaron Rodgers.
Matt, I think everyone's so concerned about Rodgers going to the Giants. It's so funny. First off, he's not going to go there, because what is the benefit he gets out of just extending his career for another year to go play with the freaking Giants? Number 2, for me, I actually hope he goes to the Giants, because I don't think he's going to do anything with how barren that roster is. They brought back Darius Slayton, but other than that, Tyrone Taylor, whatever his name is, Tyrone Taylor, I think, is the young running back's name out of the backfield. You're throwing him passes. You're throwing Darius Slayton passes. Devontae Adams is now off to LA. I kind of want him to go to the Giants so they can become the biggest laughing stock in all of football, and Rodgers can go on the national television programs and call out freaking Wan'Dale Robinson for dropping a game-winning touchdown pass.
Yeah, that'd be tough. I don't think the Giants roster's in a spot where Aaron could come in and have much success. So I'd be surprised as well if that's where he picked to end up.
The thing is, Matt, he would fit great for them. They would want, because Dable and Shane need someone with a super, super high floor who can get them 8 to 10 wins. That's who they need. And I think Rodgers could be that guy potentially. Matt, I mean, it's a slow day of free agency. I was hoping these past few days there would be some signings. Like I said, a big first day for Aaron Glenn and Darren Muji. Very, very nothing on the second day, and not much really to not really much to talk about today. Another thing I just wanted to get into here quickly, Matt. You spoke about the Andre Cisco signing. Do you still want the Jets to add up, beef up the safety room? I know they brought back Tony Adams. Personally, I'm not confident rolling into the season with Tony Adams, Andre Cisco, and maybe you get something out of JBC if you try to convert him back to the safety position. I'm not comfortable with it. I still want to add someone in the top few rounds of the draft, or even another free agent, perhaps.
I think they definitely need another strong safety. So Cisco's more of that roaming free safety.
Yeah, ball hawker.
Yeah, ball hawker, exactly. And Tony Adams is a free safety. He doesn't really play that strong safety down in the box. So if you're looking for I was trying to pull up Spot Rack, but go figure, the site's crashing right now. I'm sure everyone in the world is on that website. But I think what's his name? Julian Blackman is still available. He might be able to fill that role a little bit. But yeah, I would still look to add another more of a strong safety type. Justin Reed was available yesterday. That was the name that I was trying to watch, but that one didn't get done.
What about Evan Ingram, Matt? No, my bad. I just saw the Broncos signed Evan Ingram. So I was just about to ask you about Evan Ingram. And on my other tab, I see on Twitter that the Broncos just signed Evan Ingram. So every single name on the free agent market that the Jets could potentially go after he's gone. So Evan Ingram was someone I was going to ask you about potentially signing. The Dallas Goedert trade rumors, though, I'll stick with the tight end. The
Okay.
trade talks are starting to heat up. 30 years old, cap number set at $11 million next year. Apparently, the Eagles are trying to get a fourth round pick for him. I'd do that in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I don't mind that one. And like I usually am not for the Jets, especially at this point where they are in their retool process, trading for a 30-plus-year-old veteran. But Dallas Goddard, I think, is one of those tight ends, unlike Evan Ingram. Ingram's pretty much exclusively a pass catcher. He's more of a big wide receiver than he is a tight end. Dallas Goddard is a force in the run game, and he's a plus receiving tight end too. So I don't mind that play at all, especially if it's a day 3 pick, like a fourth rounder going back the other way.
For sure. I know the cap hit's high, but when he's on the field, he is a legit pass catcher. He could also provide you some blocking value. So I think the Jets need to add multiple bodies in this tight end room. And I understand people are going to be turned off with the cap number, with how old he is. But what tight end are you getting in the fourth round of this year's draft who's going to come in and be better than Dallas Goedert? I mean, the right answer is we don't know, but still, Harold Fannon's going to be gone. Elijah Arroyo is going to be gone. You're looking at a Terrence Ferguson type guy from Oregon, perhaps. So not too many appealing names when it comes to the tight end position in the fourth round. So why not, get rid of that pick and you bring in someone who's an established pass catching tight end at this point in his career. Matt, right tackle. I was in the boat of bringing back Morgan Moses at the right price. Looking at what he got, I don't regret the Jets not bringing him back whatsoever. Jedrick Wills is, I know, a name you spoke a lot about during your free agency preview, a name that our guy Ryan from Jets Talk 24/7 is all over. What is your plan to fill the right tackle hole?
I think the draft at this point.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a guy available on the free agent market that makes sense to be a starter, unless there's just an obvious name that I'm forgetting. But Jedrick Wills he's missed so much time in his first, the last 2 years. That scares me. He'd be switching back from left tackle to right tackle. At least he played right tackle in college, and maybe he is more comfortable there. So that's the upside of the swing. And he's still on the young side, but I just the back-to-back years with major injuries is what's killing me.
Now, are you in the Armand Membu train, the Will Campbell train at pick 7?
I'd rather take Membu than Will Campbell, but
Mm,
I would rather take a pass catcher in Tet
yeah.
McMillan or Tyler Warren in the first round, and then try to target someone like Ozzy Trapilo in either the second or third round to be your starter at right tackle.
Yeah, I like Ozzy Trapillo. I like Wyatt Millum from West Virginia. A lot of the names I like in some of the later rounds. I'm not sold on taking that 7th overall pick and spending it on a tackle. Offensive line is super, super important, but I think this is a need you could flat out address in free agency. I'm not the biggest fan of sliding AVT out to tackle, but I want to get your thoughts on this plan I've come up with. Someone I was really, really interested in free agency last year in Kevin Zeitler. He's 36 years old, but played for the Lions last season, was a top guard in the league. What are your thoughts potentially? You give Zeitler $5-6 million to come in, replaces AVTA guard. You slide him out to tackle. Boom, you have that. You could still draft a Wyatt Millum and Ozzy Trapillo, a Hollins Pierce on day 2, day 3, and they could be your swing tackle 6-man type guy. I think that could be a great solution at a relatively fair price as well.
It's definitely an option. I kind of, I'm going to be honest. My preference would be to keep AVT at right guard, but I don't think moving him to tackle and bringing in someone to play guard is off the table, especially because it's not the same regime that was here. With Saleh and that offensive staff, they kind of decided that they're going to keep him at right guard, but we have no idea what the evaluation from Darren Muji and Aaron Glenn is. Maybe they see him more as a right tackle and they think that he can fit, or they can fill the guard spot easier. So we'll see. That could definitely be an option for them, and it's an interesting thought.
I mean, Matt, you know how spotty Robert Saleh was with injuries. He could say freaking Tyron Smith during training camp had a cramp in his left leg and his leg could be amputated the next day. You just never know with what Robert Saleh is saying in terms of injuries. Yeah, I agree with everything you're saying there. I moving on from Morgan Mose, I wouldn't have given him that contract, but just creates an unnecessary hole. We could be in the point. We could be sitting here right now saying the whole Jets offensive line is solidified. You're just looking for that sixth man swing tackle type guy. I think that was the hope as the Jets entered free agency, but obviously don't get that done. Still looking for a starting right tackle. Matt, we spoke about Tim Patrick a little earlier. Diami Brown off the market. T. Higgins off the market. All these guys at the wide receiver position, and the Jets need a lot of wide receiver help. Any names you really like in one of the later rounds of the draft?
So later round of the draft, what position? Sorry, I was reading. I was distracted because Levi
Yeah, I just
Onwuzurike
saw
just
it. Just
resigned.
saw it right here. Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
my God.
Okay.
So
So
every name, Matt. Every name. I'm sorry to cut you off there, but I'm really getting pissed off with what the Jets have been doing.
no, I'm sorry. I know you asked about late round options, but what
Yeah.
position were you looking for?
Wide receiver.
Oh, wide receiver. Honestly, dude, like this wide receiver class, I don't think is as deep. It falls off quickly. So I'm gonna steal a green beans guy. He has a late rounder out of where the hell is he? Nick Nash out of San Jose State.
Numbers are insane.
Yeah, that's his guy. So you know what? I'll go to bat for my boy Green Bean. I'll say
Yes.
Nick Nash as a good one, and also I kind of like Dante Thornton Jr. too. He's big at 6'5".
Okay, I like those names. I like Nash too, just because his numbers are crazy. Who's another guy I really like is Jaden Higgins from Iowa State. Someone who's, excuse me, 6'4" could be your jump ball type guy. If you don't end up going with Ted McMillan at pick 7, I know both of us are really big Ted McMillan fans. What are your thoughts on Emeka Ibuka, the speedy, route running wide receiver from Ohio State, who I'm gonna be honest, reminds me a lot of Garrett Wilson, the way he plays, being able to weave through traffic, his route tree overall, his height, his size. I like Emeka Ibuka.
I do too. If the Jets trade down, I think that would be my target. Assuming like if you trade down and Tyler Warren's still there, then sure, take Tyler Warren. Or if Tet McMillan's still there, sure, take Tet McMillan. But if both those guys are gone and you're moved back to, I don't know, we'll say like pick 15, maybe we'll say, and Mbuka's there, that'd be the route I'd go. And it'd be like the Ohio State Jets on offense. So I'm kind of down for
Sure.
that.
Like I was watching Richie's show right before it went on, and someone said trading for Olave would be like the Nova Knicks, kind of if you drafted a Emeka Ibuka too instead of trading for Olave. That's another thing I'm gonna bring up, the Chris Olave trade talk kind of coming just because the Jets signed Justin Fields. They have Justin Fields, Garrett Wilson. Now the possibility of adding Olave. Look, a first round pick just a few years ago. When he's on the field, he's done great things. He has a ton of concussions, most of which coming from Derek Carr hospital balls. But overall, thoughts on a potential Chris Olave trade, and what does a package look like for him? So I'd be open to giving, like a day 2, day 3, late day 2, day 3 type pick, but I'm not giving a second round pick for someone who's been concussed 1,000 times just his first few seasons in the league.
I was just going to say, if they're asking for a second round pick or greater, I would have to say you got to go a different route. If you're talking a third or fourth round pick, a little bit of a different story. The Jets have multiple fourth, right? They have multiple fourths, or is it multiple fifths? It might be multiple.
Sorry,
fifths.
what'd you say?
The Jets have multiple fourth round picks or fifth round?
Fifths.
Okay. So you could, even if you trade the fourth rounder, you could package picks together and get up into the fourth round if you wanted to find somebody else. So I'd be open to it. I just don't know how likely it is at this point.
Yeah, they have multiple fifth rounders this year, and they have 3 sixth rounders next year. So, like, would you do 2 fifths and 2 sixths?
Yeah, that sounds about right, I think.
Yeah. Again, he has high upside as a receiver, super young, first round pick. But again, how much are you going to be? I'm not giving up a top pick for that guy. Staying with the topic of wide receiver here in the final few minutes we have you. Matt, Cooper Kupp released today by the Los Angeles Rams. I had Antoine Staley from the Daily News, had Rich Cimini on the program yesterday. They both said they expect the Jets to be in on Cooper Kupp. What does a fair contract really look like for Kupp, who, the Rams couldn't get anything in a trade for him, so they obviously released him. What would you be willing to give Cooper Kupp?
Definitely be a 1-year deal. It's hard to find the number because he's been hurt the last 3 years, 9 games, 12 games, and 12 games. So are we talking like 1 for 10 with some incentives, something around that maybe?
Okay, that would be fair because Diami Brown got 1 for 10 worth up to 12. That's kind of a tough comp though because Diami Brown, someone who played his best football at the end of the year in the playoffs, someone who's still very, very young, hasn't shown anything in the regular season yet, compared to Cooper Cup, who's in his 30s, who struggled with injuries. So yeah, I'd say 1 year, $10 million guaranteed with incentives. Yeah, I think that's fair for those interested in the Evan Ingram deal with the Broncos. 2 years, $23 million with 16 and a half guaranteed. I mean, Matt, that's the talk, right, for what it's going to look like with Tyler Conklin, but you just tack another year on there. So, what do you think you're looking for if you want to bring back Conklin, that 3 year, 21, $23 million range?
Yeah, I would say it's probably 2 or 3 year deal with the AAV around $8 to $10 million, somewhere in that range. So a little bump on what he just got, the last time he signed with the Jets 3 years ago now. But I think that's probably a fair estimation.
Appreciate you all tuning in. Smash the like, subscribe to the channel. Matt O'Leary, Connor Long here with you on a Wednesday edition of NY Flight Jet Talk. If there's any news, we'll be back. Matt, I appreciate you hopping on as always. We're gonna wrap this show up. For those interested, I will be filling in for a guy Richie of Jets Media on the AFC East Roundtable tonight. So check us out. Obviously, myself filling in for Richie, TD Finns Talk, Colby from Patriots Global, and then Dan Mitchell. So check us out tonight on the AFC East Roundtable, 7 o'clock. Be there. Going to be a heated AFC East debate as it is every single Wednesday night. So I don't know if I'm able to fill in for Richie, but like I said, smash the like, subscribe. Any breaking news, we'll be back. Matt, I appreciate you hopping on as always. You got any final thoughts?
Yeah, hopefully Darren Muji wakes up, man. Someone wake him up. We got stuff to do. We got work to do.
Sign a wide receiver. Point blank. Period. Sign a wide receiver. Add another cornerback. And even add another safety if possible. Appreciate you all tuning in. Like I said, Matt O'Leary, Connor Long, signing off. JTS, Jets, Jets, Jets.